and I personally could sleep easy at night. But do you want to know the percentage of US Americans who reported consistent use of hearing protection according to a 2018 CDC study? 8%. We gotta talk about this. First, we need a brief understanding on how we hear and how loudness affects our hearing. Let's say you're going about your day, maybe you're walking to go get an Oreo or start a high-yield savings account, but then a giant Demogorgon emerges from his fiery tomb and lets out a terrifying scream. The sound of that scream is energy as vibrating air particles. That energy goes to your ear, first to your pinna, the visible outer part of the ear. The sound then travels to the eardrum, which vibrates and sets off the ossicles, three tiny bones known as the hammer, anvil, and stirrup. Now this is the important part. The energy then goes into your cochlea. Inside the cochlea is a fluid that moves in tandem with the sound. The fluid movements then set off 25,000 little hairs that transform the vibrations into electrical signals that your brain processes as sound. That's how you hear. But now let's factor in volume. Let's say the Demogorgon scream is very loud, at approximately 80 to 85 decibels. And let's also say he's got breath control for days, so he screams for about 2 hours straight. Also, assume that you can't move or cover your ears. This analogy is starting to not work. Speaking of not working, those little hairs in your cochlea, when introduced to that volume for that long, those hairs start to die. And they die even faster if the volume is louder. For example, if the volume is 105 to 110 decibels, then your hearing will be damaged in less than 5 minutes. If you're wondering where I got that decibel range from, it happens to be the loudness of an average concert. The point of this is exposure to loud music for even a few minutes can damage your hearing. That damage can manifest in a few ways, the most common of which is tinnitus, a subjective experience in which you hear noises, most commonly ringing, in one or both ears. And don't worry, that high-pitched ringing you're hearing right now is not you. I'm just doing some funky sound design to show you what it's like. But those little hairs in your cochlea, they'll grow back, right? Well, those hairs don't grow back. I don't mean to sound curt or rude or alarmist when I say that, but once those hairs are gone, they're gone forever. You're never getting them back. Now look, part of you losing those hairs is due to the aging process. You're gonna lose some of your hearing in your life no matter what you do. But a lot of unnecessary damage to your ears can be prevented by wearing earplugs. And we need that prevention now more than ever. Concerts are loud and they only seem to be getting louder. Is that due to the growth of festivals and the need for extra amplification to carry sound across large expanses of land? Or is it because us humans tend to think that the louder a thing is, the more gooder it must be? I'm not sure, personally. It's at this point where I would respond to arguments against wearing earplugs at shows. To be honest, I personally don't see them often on the internet. If anything, I see posts gushing over earplugs, and now everyone should wear them. However, there is this place outside of the internet called the real world. It's true, look it up, and I've talked with a few people that don't wear them. It's usually because A, the earplugs are uncomfortable to wear, or B, they feel like earplugs keep them from experiencing the magic of live music. The first one comes down to finding the right plugs for you, and I'll recommend a few in a moment. The second point I get, but okay, let me put it like this. You know how there's that thing people do when they love each other very much, and how that can lead to a feeling of transcendence, but if you don't wear protection during, then you either put your health at risk or change the course of your life irrevocably? Protection's important. That's all I'm saying. I've also talked with people who are more or less fine with wrecking their hearing because there are hearing aids or in development medicine that can cure hearing loss or implants to restore hearing. I'm sorry, but are those plans short-term musical satisfaction, but you guarantee that you'll need external devices to have functional hearing, or wait on medicine that doesn't exist yet and often fails in clinical trials, or have your life literally turn into Sound of Metal? Have you seen Sound of Metal? Because if you've seen Sound of Metal, I don't think you'd want your life to be Sound of Metal. I'm sorry, I'm just not convinced. And I don't mean to put down anybody who does wear hearing aids or implants. I am glad we live in a world where people who have lost their hearing for reasons beyond their control have a chance to hear again. I'm just saying, for all the young people out there who have healthy hearing, wearing protection at shows is something you can control. If you're looking for earplug recommendations, let me first say that the best earplugs are the ones you have on you or the ones you can most easily get. If you go into any convenience store, you'll probably find these orange ones. I don't love how they feel or how live music sounds when I have them in. However, if they're the only thing you got around, then they are acceptable. A couple earplug brands that have good reviews are Earpiece, Daddario, Loop, Eargasm, the preferred brand of Smokey Robinson. My current favorite brand to wear is Eargasm. The fit in your ears is pretty tight, which some people might not like, but personally they make me feel secure that my hearing is protected. Plus, concerts still sound pretty good with them in. And just to make clear that this isn't some kind of covert sponsored plug, I don't really like the name of the company, Eargasm. It's just, if you work for Eargasm and you're watching this, I'm sorry, I don't mean anything personal. And again, you make good earplugs that I would recommend to people. But every time I say this is my favorite earplug brand, I get this feeling that a group of adolescent boys somewhere in the world are cackling over the prank they pulled on me. I'll also touch on custom molded earplugs that you can get specifically for your ears. They fit well, of course, but they're expensive. I got a pair back in college and I think they were like $300. Would not recommend if you're just starting out. Last bit of advice, never use cotton buds. Don't do it. They might actually cause even more damage to your ears. I also implore artists and venues to spread awareness about noise-induced hearing loss. I've seen the little orange earplugs offered at a few venues, but more should be done. In fact, here's an idea that anyone can have for free. Personalized artist earplugs. A pair of plugs that reflect the branding of the artist's tour. Like Taylor Swift is out right now on the Eras tour. Could you imagine if she put out different sets of earplugs and each set reflected a different era? They'd probably go for like $100 or something and I wouldn't even care. But regardless of what brand you go with, I really hope you wear earplugs to the next concert you go to. Hearing is a wonderful thing and it should be preserved for as long as possible. If you know someone who doesn't wear earplugs, please consider sending this video to them. And if there's a brand of earplug that you wear which I didn't mention, put it in the comments so other people can see.
Crusading was one of medieval Europe's favourite pastimes. It wouldn't take much for a pope to issue a call to crusade, and soon kings, princes and lords would be marching an army to either retake the Holy Land or generally just make life difficult for the Islamic powers on the other side of the Mediterranean. Yet, as you'll know, one day the crusade stopped. But why? Why did the era of crusading come to an end? Now, when most people discuss crusading, it's often in reference to those in the Middle East, but it's important to remember that there were several against pagans in northern and eastern Europe. Furthermore, there were those in the Iberian Peninsula and also ones which were directed against the heretical movements throughout Europe in the 13th, 14th and 15th centuries. Those in the Iberian Peninsula stopped because simply the Christians won and all of the Muslim states there were extinguished by 1492. For the crusades in the Middle East, those came to an end in the late 13th century for several more complicated reasons. The first was that the crusaders kept losing and you can only keep trying the same thing so many times before it just seems silly. Another reason was that the primary region of the crusades had now moved to North Africa and much of their focus was on trade and piracy. They were now much smaller in scale and were primarily done in a kingdom's interest, not for religious zeal. Furthermore, many were now undertaken without the consent of the Pope, which leads into one of the main reasons that these former crusades came to an end. The papacy's power began to decline and everyone started to ignore them. This was due to several factors. First, there were numerous schisms and as such numerous popes who had different rulers acknowledged them. This meant that crusading became much more risky since previously going on a crusade meant that the Pope would excommunicate anyone who invaded you during that time. And if you rejected the Pope who sanctioned the crusade, you could just wait until your rival's army left for the Holy Land and in you went. The second reason for the papacy's decline was the Protestant Reformation, which meant that many places were now permanently out of the Pope's sphere of influence, and many of those who remained were now dealing with internal religious conflict. So did this mean the end of formal crusading? Well, kind of, but also no. There were still large wars involving numerous Christian states states which occurred under the direction of the Pope. Although not via papal bulls, most of those issued around this time were ignored. The most notable of these religious wars were those of the Holy League against the Ottoman Empire. These weren't to restore the Holy Land or reconquer Constantinople, but to slow and ultimately halt the Ottoman expansion in the Mediterranean and Europe. This didn't work immediately, but it wasn't long until the Ottoman Empire began its long terminal decline, and European nations soon operated in terms of independent national foreign policy, and not with any sense of a united Christian world trying to reclaim important religious cities. It was national self-interest which would direct foreign wars after this, and that continued all the way to the capture of Jerusalem by the British in World War I, who were very quick to dismiss any religious undertones to the conquest because by then the idea of a Christian religious war was completely bizarre. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you for watching, with a special thanks to my patrons, James Bizanet, Kelly Moneymaker, Rob Waterhouse, Mo, Marvin Cassow, Aaron the White, Jordan Longley,
Thoughts on MLP Friendship is Magic? I never saw it because I wasn't 10 when it came out. Sorry, guys. I know a lot of people who aren't 10 have watched that show. I sat down and watched a full episode when I was in college once to see if there was any. It was just too saccharine for me. It was too sickly sweet. I was nearing my limit at some points with Steven Universe when it comes to like the saccharine, sickly sweet stuff, but Steven Universe wasn't nearly as much that as MLP was. You know, far less so. I've heard some people say that like if you can get past that, it's like better than a lot of shows. Which I was like, okay, whatever. If it was an anime, half of chat would call it a masterpiece. Well, to be fair, the fact that they all look like little cartoon pony toy horse things does put me off as well. If they were all like anime characters, their kid show banter would probably be a lot more tolerable because they're not toy unicorn thingies. Isn't MLP a fan group full of Nazi/fascists? Nah, the overwhelming majority of people who like MLP or like MLP or whatever else are either very young people or like Tumblr progressive queers because they like that sickly sweet crap. There is like a small contingent of the fan base was like 4chan incel loser types or whatever, but I think that stuff got so blown off. You guys remember when the biggest culture war topic was My Little Pony? I don't know. It just feels so weird looking back in it now. Like, you know, how far we've come. What about She-Ra? She-Ra's mid, but it's like fine. There's some stuff that's fine for it. You see that tweet where it's like the overriding message of progressive media now is that it's okay to do genocides as long as you're gay and sorry? I don't know. I feel like maybe kid shows shouldn't do stories that involve like big political battles unless they're willing to commit to the consequences, right? Like Avatar: The Last Airbender is still the gold standard of good animation because it's perfect and great and legitimately like one of the best pieces of media. It's very, very good. And like they committed, right? Like they didn't have people getting full on murdered, but like they were pretty like committed and dedicated to structurally like what do you do to dismantle the Fire Nation? And I mean a lot was done. Like that was the whole show basically. And a lot of people got hurt and a lot of people died off screen, you know? Firelord Ozai had that flame jet during Sozin's Comet operating for like a long time before he was stopped by Aang. There were at least like 100,000 crispy charred Earth Kingdom denizens down there in a straight line somewhere on the continent. The Lion Turtle Ex Machina sucked. No, I disagree. The Lion Turtle Ex Machina didn't solve the conflict for Aang. Aang still has to beat Ozai through strength. All it does is give him an alternative to full-on killing the Fire Lord, which I think is fine. They don't have like dimeridium chains in the Avatar world. It's not The Witcher, right? Like if a person can bend, they're always going to be a danger. So yeah, it seems pretty important, I think. But then, right? Like Steven Universe, just like Steven, you know, White Diamond has like a mental breakdown. And she gets forgiven. Everyone's made fun of Steven Universe for that. And likewise with She-Ra, guys, can we be real here? Okay, the cat lady probably should have been executed. Okay, the cat girl probably should have been shot like in a firing line, and that's generous. Okay, death without torture for everything she's done. Probably actually I don't know. But she was hot and gay. Yeah, well, that's all it takes, right? The stupidest thing of that show, by the way, was the idea that the entire planet is under threat and that the good guy and bad guy bases are 5 minutes away from each other. I could never get over that, by the way. I could never get over that. Like, at first in season 1, it all felt like, oh, the forest of magic, spirit of friendship, blah, blah, whatever. But as it went on, it's like, oh, it's a whole planetary conflict. This is a big deal. But their bases are 5 minutes from each other. There's a forest, and then there's like a mountain, and they're right next to each other. And like, I guess it's not that unrealistic. You can just imagine it as like the colonial wars in France and England, where the two countries are right next to each other, but they're battling in this big global, you know what I mean? It's pretty dumb. Can you rant about Korra? No, what? No. Also, we're talking about like fake forgiveness. Was there anyone in Korra who was forgiven who probably shouldn't have been? I guess you could say that happened with Kuvira, but her fate wasn't really fleshed out at the end. They basically wait, hold on. The only thing that Korra didn't do was kill her. I don't think they forgave her. I was under the impression she was going to go away to prison forever, basically. Like that, they didn't like, you know, the White Diamond literally gets off scot free, right? Like the cat girl gets off scot free. I don't think Kuvira gets off scot free. Nazi prison, yeah. I still can't believe they had antagonists in the 3rd season who were just correct, and then Korra killed them. Well, yeah. Agreed, I was Crane. The only reason Korra is not considered a masterpiece is because it's adjacent to Avatar: The Last Airbender, a masterpiece. So here's a top tier villain. Villain? You kidding me? Yeah, but that's not punishment of the unorthodox monkey. White Diamond did a galactic genocide. Dragon Ball has the villain forgiveness problem. Okay, the thing with Dragon Ball is that it's retarded. I'm really sorry, guys. I read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. It's a dumb show, and I don't know why it's so popular apart from inertia. It's not actually that good. The fighting's not that good. The characters aren't that good. Nothing's that good. Apart from admittedly a really consistent and quirky aesthetic, like the art style, which I really like. I even came to enjoy how stupid all the Saiyans look with their big foreheads. I actually like the art. Apart from that, though, it's really not that good. It's a dumb show. Dragon Ball walks so One Piece could run. True! Proof that Vosh is anti-black. Whoa. I'm a huge fan of One Piece, and everybody knows that if somebody on Twitter has an avatar picture of Luffy, that means they're black, okay? But I'm a huge fan of One Piece, all right? Hold on, okay? Hold on. You like Demon Slayer? Yeah, Demon Slayer's pretty great, right? I mean, it's really popular, but it's also really great. That's good. I haven't seen the most recent season, though, and I haven't read the manga. I've only seen the anime content up to the movie. So, do you like Cyberpunk Edge Runners? Cyberpunk Edge Runners was kind of mid, to be honest. I feel like Trigger was really shackled by the writing material there, because Cyberpunk the game is like gritty realism. CD Projekt Red, they wrote The Witcher 3, you know. But Trigger wants to do a story where like 40 minutes in, you realize that actually the conflict is being caused by aliens from another dimension that have infiltrated the planet's core. You know, there's like a tonal mismatch, I think. Also, everyone knows what's going to happen. Ghost in the Shell's really good. Did Trigger do anything good past Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill? What? The people behind Trigger were responsible for like a lot of the good shit that Gainax has done, up to and including Fully Cooley and Evangelion. Little Witch Academia is great. Promare is amazing. What do you mean? I haven't seen Star Wars Visions. Little Witch Academia. Little Witch's ass. Well, the TV show isn't great. The movies are good though. First movie's great. Second movie's good. Fully Cooley was Gainax. Yeah, but Trigger is made up of people who used to work at Gainax.